Let's start with the Devers thing. Everybody's good with that?
Yeah, you have to.
I know. It was more of a joke. I figured the Washington manager thing was totally the right thing to start with.
You don't think that's
Also,
going to keep people engaged?
Roman Yankee being 1 for 27 is definitely something to bring up as well.
You know, we'll get there.
I guess. Quote.
Flex,
Also, I saw
you're gonna
reports
break
that
us
they didn't
today,
shop
okay?
him I saw reports they didn't even shop him around the league beforehand.
They
Who,
say
Devers?
again?
Yeah, they didn't shop Devers. Like pretty similar to what the Mavs did with Luca.
That's a fun comparison right now, by the way.
That's the comparison that comes to mind. Luca's obviously a bigger superstar in his sport than Devers is, but the shock and awe of it all feels very similar.
Agreed. The fact that you
Damn.
told us that in the middle of our game.
We should have tweeted, quote tweeted it and said, tell us this in baseball terms, like everybody did with the Luca tweet.
I'm good whenever.
Also, Flack,
I'm just letting people come in.
Were you the one who posted the tweet, the quote tweet of it saying Devers is good? That was electric. Amazing quote tweet. That's why I follow him.
Good job, Black.
Thanks, man. Throw shit at the wall, see what sticks. That's pretty much how it goes. Oh boy, I mean, we can start with Devers, or we can talk about how I shoved today in men's league.
We can talk about whatever you want to start. Evan Flax, you did in fact shove in men's league. I will send you a clip of you shoving in men's league. So you have.
Let's go, Jackson. Just so you have the numbers. 7 innings, 65 pitches, 8 Ks, 2 walks, 0 earned runs.
He had
Fire
a
me
legit.
up.
He had a legitimate 3-pitch inning. It was unreal.
First batter out on a cutter, second batter out on a fastball, third batter out on a changeup. Went through the whole order.
That's awesome.
It's pretty sick.
Yeah. Body's going to need to recover now, but yeah, it was cool when it happened. I got 2 weeks off. I needed it. Okay. Well, for the folks that have joined us, Brian, there's your break.
Break.
Sorry for the clap in your ears. But we are in this. We are ready to go. I'll take the lead on this one, Ryan.
You should.
Brock Holt season. Let's go.
Brock.
Yeah, who are you tonight,
This
Flex?
is my Red Sox guy right here, Brock Holt.
Brock Holt would never leave.
Brock Holt would never leave.
Brock Holt would never get traded. Brock Holt might have gotten traded. I shouldn't say that.
I think he got traded.
I think he did get traded.
So you might have said that too soon, man.
No,
I think he got a better package.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Let's start here before we dive into the Rafi Devers conversation, because we absolutely will. We obviously have to start with our weekly wrap up, because we did not go live last weekend. I was not available. Ryan had pitched a full 9 innings and fell asleep on his couch. We did not go live. We are going to do a quick wrap up from the week past, and I'm going to start with what I am rocking right now. Let's start first of all, Brian Roberts, phenomenal 6-game stretch, doing the color commentary with Kevin Brown on the Orioles games. Absolutely love listening to him. But the Orioles got another sweep today of the Angels, who are playing some very hot baseball. That's 3 of their last 5 series with a sweep. Their last 15 games, they've got 11 wins, 4 losses. Best stretch in baseball outside of the Mets currently. The only couple of games they lost were, again, to lefties. It happens. Also in the AL East, the Red Sox, the day that they trade Rafi Devers, sweep the Yankees 8-2 in their last 10. Rafi Devers hit a bomb. He said, "Get out of here." And then they said, Get out of here.
Get out of here.
This is, by the way, I wanted to say this before I started this. Fastest 60 seconds in baseball. That's what this is. We're gonna start calling this. So for everybody listening, this is the fastest 60 seconds in baseball. Is your weekly recap from us at the start of our weekly wrap up. American League Central, Tigers are still good. I don't know what to tell you, but the Twins are playing better baseball again. That's really the wild card race. The Royals have been struggling, 2-8 in their last 10. Jack Caglione, a couple other folks not hitting, not pitching well. Moving on to the American League West. My water bottle's in the way. Moving on to the American League West. The Athletics are struggling. They're not pitching the ball well. They're hitting fine. I think they're garnering 4.5 runs a game. They're also giving up 6.5 runs a game. Tough to be in that position when it's all said and done.
Not a recipe to win.
No, it is not. But the Mariners were going on a slide, starting to find their way back. Astros taking advantage of it, getting over the 40-win mark, taking the lead in that division as we all expected. Once again, a game of leapfrog in the NL East between the Mets and Phillies. The Mets, while playing some of the best baseball in the league, go on and get swept by the Rays. Not great. The Nationals on a slide right now, calling up Brady House, trying to get some young energy in the lineup. We're going to talk about them tonight as well. Davey Martinez made some comments. Kind of curious as to what kind of the background was on the comments. At face value, probably not a Nationals fan's favorite thing to hear, but the reality of the situation and how he was backing up some of the other coaches in his foxhole is really more of where that came from. National League Central, we're going to cover some Cardinals-Brewers beef that happened throughout the week. Always fun to see some interdivision stuff. I know Jackson's excited to talk about his Cardinals. The Cubs still have a very good offense. We talked about it. I didn't talk about it. These two talked about it this past week. You could pretty much put their outfield in the starting outfield for the All-Star game, except for James Wood. It may try and sneak his way in there. Finally, on to the National League West. Other side of the big conversation today. Buster Posey ain't playing no games. Buster Posey's a man on a mission, and he has no problem spending the money to do it. The Dodgers also came out today and said there's a very high likelihood that Shohei pitches as an opener in a big league game very, very soon. A lot's happening there. And the Rockies put up 10 against the Braves today.
Yeah, they did.
And that's where we end.
And they also struck out 16 times. But
I wasn't going to say it.
Later.
They struck out a combined 35 times in the last 2 days.
Winning ball games too. Awesome.
Yeah. Winning.
Well, they went 1-1, but yeah, winning.
Have you seen their record?
That's winning
right now.
Soon, listen, they may stretch to 20 wins soon. You never know.
On their way.
You never know.
Also, lead the
Can't
league
get to
in
100
triples.
without getting 21st.
Pat Heisman.
That's exactly right. They do. They lead the league in triples. Also, I got a bone to pick with Brooksgate. Every 29 teams are leading the league in something baseball related. The Orioles are leading the league in average weight.
Wait, hold on. What? I missed
Did you
that
not
part.
see?
I
Okay.
missed the Orioles.
I saw it. I saw
The
it.
tweet was the funniest thing ever. Like, I was reading through it, and of course my eyes went to the Orioles thing, and I was like, oh, they lead the league in weight. That's funny. And I'm like, perusing the rest of them, and I'm like, oh, I'm sure like the rest of them are funny things here and there. Nope. The rest of them were like everyone else is like batting average, triples, home runs, ERA, whip, FIP. Nothing like the Orioles. The Orioles lead the league in average weight.
I think it was like 2-2 or something.
Yeah,
The Orioles are also the only team in baseball still without a walk-off win.
All right. Well, let's talk about all that later. Let's move ourselves
move
into the
on.
conversation that has to happen here. And that is
I digress.
That is the San Francisco Giants have acquired Rafael Devers from the Boston Red Sox. The Giants are taking the entirety of the Devers contract, which will be this year and then the following 8 years of that contract. It is around $28.5 million per year. Outside of next year is $27. In return, the Boston Red Sox will receive Jordan Hicks, who's the rest of his contract they will take. That's going to be $12.5 million over the next 2 years and whatever is remaining this year on that contract. They also acquire former top Giants pitching prospect Kyle Harrison. Here we go. I'm going to do it again. Jackson, Tibbs' first name.
James
Tibbs. James. They've acquired James Tibbs.
Cash from behind the arc
to cut the lead to 43. James Tibbs, who is a former first top pick of the Giants, another college bat that could get there very, very soon. And then Jose Bayo, who is a young prospect in the Giants organization. There's a lot of places we can start with this. I think we have to start on the side of Devers and the Red Sox breakup here. This has been an interesting 6 months, not even 3 months for this whole situation. The Boston Red Sox and the Breslow group bring in Alex Bregman. It immediately causes a lot of strife, especially with Devers, who instantaneously says, hey, man, you've got me for the next 8, at that point in time, 9 years. I'm your third baseman. I'm not moving. I don't know why you did that. I don't care. Snowballed. They thought they had it figured out. Devers started the season slow. And as we've moved on, he has ended up being their DH. But he's now been moved. And the discourse that was created by all of this may be gone for the Boston Red Sox. Flax, where are you at with this? Jackson, where are you at with this on the Red Sox moving on from Devers?
I will say this. The guy who really won in all this, Joey Lucchesi, got his contract selected by the Giants from AAA. Guy got called up. First of all, shout out to him. Happy to see that.
Sure.
But in the grand scheme of things, when I look at this move, shocked is the first thing. And then as you start to sit back and think about it, there's a lot you could say. We were asked what our original thoughts were. My first thought was, hey, if you're the Red Sox, you started the clock on your big three, you're saving a lot of money, maybe a good opportunity to turn around and sign these guys to early extensions. I got lambasted by people I got ratioed like you wouldn't believe when I commented, basically, would you be happy if they turned around in the next month and gave an extension to Marcelo Meyer and Roman Anthony? And people were basically, on two sides of it. Either A, why would you sign him to trade him? Because they're just in the mindset that the Red Sox are ready to trade everybody. Or the commentary was basically, you already have the guy for 6 years. Why would you extend him? Which my answer to that is it costs less to sign him now if he will sign now. If you wait until year 4 or 5 when he's already become what you think he's going to become, it gets a lot harder. Look at Gunnar Henderson. When I look at it from the Red Sox perspective, honestly, I don't hate the move. I think a lot of people are upset, but more because they are Red Sox fans, or as a baseball fan, it brings up feelings of potentially losing their guy. I saw a lot of Braves fans were like, Ronald Acuna, please never leave us. I get it, right? The reality of the situation, though, is the Red Sox were in, I think, a pretty bad spot with that contract. It's huge. As good as Devers is as a hitter, you're not really trying to pay a DH that much, and you have a really good young core that you believe in. You're trying to stack pitching. Pitching is really what wins you championships when it's all said and done. You can never have enough. Getting guys to stay healthy is really hard. I just think when it all breaks down on the Red Sox side of it, because that's where I'm kind of in my frame of reference right now, I think when it's all said and done and you look back in a month, I don't think I hate it that much. I mean, I love what Chris Holt and Andrew Bailey are going to be able to do with Kyle Harrison. Like you and I talked about, Ryan, I think they're going to change his pitch mix a lot. I think they're going to change the way that he kind of tries to attack hitters. The likelihood is Kyle Harrison could come out and be a really good 3, 4, 5 starter for them. You've locked up Garrett Crochet. He's your one. You have some other guys who can slot in and be good arms. Hunter Dobbins, for all that he had going on, went out and absolutely dominated the Yankees this week.
After they saw him the week before.
Yeah. Exactly, which is very hard. He's basically facing the lineup for a 4th, 5th, and 6th time. So I just think initial reaction was like, whoa. And now I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I don't really hate what they did here if they use the money correctly that they just relinquish. If they sit there and sit on the money and take it as an opportunity to not spend, then I'm kind of sitting here saying, what was it for? Jackson, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, for me, my initial reaction was what are the Red Sox thinking? And as I've continued to think about it, I'm still in the box of what are the Red Sox thinking? I've been a big Devers guy for a couple of years now. I think his consistency has been unreal, and I think that's why you paid him. For their return, I like most of the guys they got. I just don't like them in the context of being traded for Rafael Devers. Jordan Hicks has been one of my favorite pitchers in baseball the past couple of years. He's a former Cardinals guy. The stuff is gross, but
Yep.
I think he's a relief pitcher. I think the starter experiment is most likely in the past for him. Kyle Harrison's been a little underwhelming as a prospect, but he has the upside. Tibbs is a first round pick. I think he'll be up in the next couple of years. But I think the Giants had other pieces that the Red Sox could have gotten. The main one that comes to mind for me is Hayden Birdsong, sub 3 ERA this year. He's been, I think he started on the bullpen, got moved to a starting role, has been great as a starter. I think if there was trade talks going on, the Red Sox should have been straight up and saying they wanted Birdsong. He's proven more than Harrison has. That's kind of where I'm at with it. I think the Red Sox could have gotten a bigger return potentially, but I don't hate the move. I think Kyle Harrison still has ace upside, but I think he has a longer way to go than other people that could have gotten.
And I think the other part of this conversation for the Red Sox is like you could end up into next season with obviously Marcelo Meyer could be your third baseman, and that's fine. He plays a good defensive third base, at least from what we've seen, but like you very well could end up with no Bregman and no Devers. The likelihood was that as long as Alex Bregman put up a stellar year, he was going to opt out, unless they found a way to sign an extension mid-season. Like Bregman was always going to opt out because Bregman was looking for a deal that gave him an opportunity to go get the contract he originally wanted to get this offseason. A longer-term deal, high money value, shows he can still be a hitter and play in any ballpark, not just the Astros. And so now I look at, on the flip side, you've now moved Devers. You also now make it harder to keep Bregman because what's he thinking? Look at some of these other teams that are out there that were going after him. Obviously, this is a young building club, but the likelihood is this is not a team that has shown you they're willing to hold on to guys even if they are sitting on tons of money. This is not the first time this Red Sox front office, not this Red Sox front office, but a Red Sox front office has done this. This isn't new for that organization.
To me, that's where you have to
not
have
new
that
for the ownership
conversation.
group.
This is a different front office than the one that signed Devers. We talk about this in other sports all the time. The biggest and easiest way to put this to people is teams that draft the quarterback in the first round or sign a quarterback and then they have an overhaul of everybody who's part of that organization, and all of a sudden there's this quarterback that is blackballed. Right? Devers was the largest contract on that roster. I think there's a couple pieces. I just look at this specifically from the roster, the roster perspective here. One, the contract that none of us are talking about that is going to be on their books and truly does not look great is Trevor Story. Okay? We're talking about a guy who he's not going to opt out, nor should he. I wouldn't do it if I was him. It wouldn't make any sense for him. You're going to owe him 25 for the next 2 years. Okay? You open up $28.5 million basically over the next 8 with the Rafael Devers situation, right? You're going to drop off the Story contract after the 2027 season. You can utilize this money to do a lot of different things, which is going to allow Breslow and his team the ability to build the roster that they want and their version of roster construction here. To me, it all does come down to what they do with this new freed up cash as they're building a long-term roster.
Yeah, absolutely.
If they do not go out, I understand the thought process of God, we're just going to sign these guys and trade them. That's the first thing as a fan you're going to feel like after you watch a guy who is a staple of your organization and grew up in your organization get moved sporadically like this. Again, we talked about it before. Luka Doncic out of left field, right? Like, those feelings are always going to be there. I don't blame anybody for having those feelings. But when you look at what the Red Sox have, let's go to a different contract that's super important here, is the Christian Campbell contract gave you stability in what you're paying him, even if it's a little bit more over the next 6 years. It gave you, at the bare minimum, if you want it, 4 more years of him at rates that should be relatively good between 29 and 32 years old. You can now potentially go out and you can grab Meyer, you can grab Anthony. One of them is probably not going to want to sign and bet on themselves, which is fair. But you can grab another 4 to 5 years out of this time period for a cornerstone piece of your roster at the end of the day. Plus, we're sitting here not talking about a couple other guys who need extensions. Brian Bayo is somebody who the Red Sox are so high on. Whether I feel that way, whether I feel that way about him or not, we're still talking about a guy who is a 25-year-old player who they consider to have ace upside, or they wouldn't keep running him out there like this, right? So there are other pieces that need to be signed. Plus, you're going to move to the offseason with a rotation outside of the top couple that hasn't been nearly as consistent as they need them to be to win. What's happening at the end of the 2025 season? One of the deepest starting pitching classes we've seen in a very, very long time. It's got a ton of guys who can be between a 4 and a 2 for most teams in the league. So this hurts as a fan. I'm with it. I'm not going to sit here and deny that. But Breslow and his team, this wasn't their contract. They didn't want a DH for $28.5 million, regardless of how consistent he has been offensively. And at the end of the day, I think they added some pieces that could eventually really help them. And you have the opportunity to go out and show your fan base that you're going to keep guys who are within this regime's roster construction for the future.
It feels weird when you're 8-2 in your last 10, you come off a sweep against the Yankees, and the guy who you trade was a big part of that series win. Now, I want to go back to Trevor Story real quick. Since June 1st, he's hitting .319, and he has looked exponentially better. 6 extra base hits, 12 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases.
Baseball requires consistency, right?
K rate's still high, and he needs to do it for a longer period of time for me to really, truly feel good about it. He's got a 146 WRC plus, and that's in that time period. So he's at least moving in the right direction, But again, his contract for what he has been is horrendous, and I can't push back on that.
And as people who got to watch Story do what he did when he came up in this league, this sucks. Like, I don't want to be saying this about Story. He's a magical type player when he's healthy, but health has been such a problem for him.
Yeah. Now, for me, when you say all this, go ahead, Jackson.
No, for me, because Ryan was talking about the possibility of extending Mayer and Anthony, and that's why you're trading Devers. For me, it was, if that's your goal, Mayer and Anthony haven't shown enough at the big league level to do that. And I'm not pressing the panic button on either one of them yet. I think they're both going to be great MLB players. But the fact of the matter is, neither one of them has come up and set the league on fire right away yet.
Sure. So but like at the same time, they were putting up better numbers than Churio was in the minor leagues. And the Brewers had no problem signing him before he played a Major League Baseball game. Same thing with Corbin Carroll. Also, like when guys have a ceiling like that, what I'm getting at is when guys have that ceiling, taking that chance on stretching them out to 8-9 years on a team-friendly contract where the first half of it, 5 years, are basically just paying them upfront cash and out their arbitration years and nothing higher than what they'd be expected to earn as a quality above average player. It's really the back half of those contracts that get paid, and they're movable contracts. That's why you do it, and that's why guys sign them, is because they can get the guaranteed money, and they know for the next 9 years they're getting paid what they think they're worth. Because there's a little bit of delusion that comes with being that good, right? There's a level of thinking you deserve that money before you've done anything. And when somebody puts it in front of you, there is a high likelihood you say, yeah, I should be getting that. And there also is a likelihood that the Red Sox are okay with spending it now that they're not putting it in one guy's pocket.
Now, on the flip side,
Yeah,
to
but
Jackson's
also
credit,
the
because I want
likelihood-
to make the point where I do agree, it's a dice roll, right? Christian Campbell,
Always.
in reality, has, regardless of how much we may like him on this podcast as a ball player and his upside, he has been a bottom 25% of the league player so far. It doesn't make the contract wrong. It's just the gamble of which this is. And if you want, again, to get a superstar player at a quote unquote discounted rate, you have to roll the dice early, right? And I know that's where you're kind of going with this, Jackson, which is where I do agree with you, is there's the level of risk is here, right? That is the level of risk we're talking about, regardless of how highly touted these prospects are. We've seen it time and time again, right? People forget what Scott Kingery was supposed to be. And again, it's not a poor thing to say. But guess what? He's collecting his money all the way to the bank, and good for Scott Kingery. The Phillies don't love it. I think they're still paying him. So there is a level of risk that is part of all of this. And I definitely.
And he pitched hit for the
agree with
Angels
you
the
on
other night.
Jackson.
Yeah, but the flip side of this, what it makes me think, there is a potential here that Buster Posey facilitated this whole thing. There's a very good chance that Buster Posey called and said, "Hey, I'll eat the whole contract if you give me Devers. Here's what I'm offering." And they heard, someone's going to take Rafi Devers' contract from us? Sure. There's a very real chance that Buster Posey basically said, we need a bat. We need a bat who is going to elevate the middle of our order. That team does not score as many runs as they need to. Their pitching staff's phenomenal, and they're still winning plenty of games. But they went through like a 5-game stretch where 4 of those 5 games, they scored 1 or 0 runs. You cannot play baseball games and go and win baseball games going on stretches like that. And I don't think it's crazy to think that Buster Posey, with an open checkbook that he seems to have, or something close to it, which San Francisco has never given, he said, "You know what? I'm gonna roll the dice here. See if they'll take this deal." And the Red Sox, being the Red Sox, feeling like they're a developmental organization who loves to build prospects and players, we're happy to take 3 arms and a bat that has shown himself at the lower levels so far. I don't think that's crazy to think about, right?
Look,
Yeah.
if there's anything that we're seeing right now,
The deafening silence I got in response there.
no, you're good. No, listen, Jackson and I were trying to make sure that we're not talking too much over
We're
each other
thinking.
here, right? Here's how I look at this. It's pretty simple. Buster Posey was on a Giants team that won World Series every other year. And Buster Posey has taken this job and said, if you think I'm going to sit around and not find a way to bring this Giants team back to greatness, you're wrong. And
Right.
there is nothing else to it. You thought the Willie Adames deal was fat and you thought that was a play? He did the little Usher gif. Watch this. That's all he did. That's all he did, because he knows that the Giants are in some semblance of contention. They're on a path, in his opinion, to be able to compete on a regular basis. And again, going back to what Jackson has said, he got one of the most consistent bats in all of baseball. What do the Giants lack on a regular basis? And part of it is because of the dimensions of that ballpark, is the ability to hit the ball out of the yard on a regular basis. Devers is not held back by the size of a ballpark. That is not going to slow Devers' ability to hit
Absolutely
balls
not.
out into the friggin' cove. And maybe we haven't seen somebody hit balls into the cove on a regular basis. Well, guess what? Splash Mountain's coming back, people.
We might
have
get to
taken
see
it away,
Rafi
but
Devers
Rafi
hit some
Devers brought it
triples.
back.
I need a Rafi Devils triple. I need a Rafi Devils cycle against the Red Sox.
What
You
do
know
we
what
think
Jackson needs?
FanDuel is?
Jackson needs a
sorry,
Rafi Devers.
triple.
Jackson needs a Rafi Devers Giants jersey. That's what he needs.
Ooh,
Oh, I need
I
it.
love it.
That was my
Yeah.
Which one, the orange one?
That was
Yeah, I like the orange alternate for sure.
What is it? Plus 900 on a Rafi Devers triple? Well, what are we getting here?
Like on any given night, or like in general he hits.
There's got to
one
be.
this
There's
season?
what, like, you're gonna hit some money if you guys are thinking that's gonna happen sometime soon.
I do. I absolutely think
not
it's
a
gonna happen.
gambling pod. Not a gambling pod.
You think Rafi Devers isn't going to hit a high fly ball in the left center, the opposite way, that stays in the air forever and then bangs off the wall?
Do you remember?
Rafi hits some
today you were
towering fly
explaining to
balls.
people why in men's league you don't hit triples?
He might be trotting to first base, though. Let's be honest here.
That's
is
where I
true.
was going because
Ryan-
Flax had a whole conversation today about how he doesn't hit triples with the whole team.
To be fair, part of it is like because I don't want to slide because the fields are rock hard. So you had a stand-up triple today. I know. Jackson, you would not believe that this ball actually reached the wall the way he hit the ball. Like I thought it was going to be a squibber to first base when he made contact. It rolled all the way to the wall.
I don't hit squibbers. I hit balls with heavy amounts of topspin when that happens.
That's what it is. You ever seen somebody hit a ground ball the other way with an extreme amount of topspin? 10,000 RPM of topspin the other way on the ground?
It's pretty impressive.
We got a video we won't
Pretty
share with
impressive.
the audience, but we'll share it with you.
Impressive, maybe the word I would use.
All right.
So all that to say, I don't know that we need to dig into this topic too much more. I think the question of the night is, which Sox team at this point is harder to root for? Is harder to be a fan of? Because I'm verging on the Red Sox at this point.
All right.
mean,
I don't know about that.
yeah, I'd still rather be a Red Sox fan at this point.
I think there are better days ahead for Red Sox fans, but again, this is
And
the
White Sox
toughest thing. And White Sox fans, of course. We talked about what we liked that Getz did this week, and maybe we'll touch on that a little bit.
Oh
because
yeah,
it was
we're
actually
big
a great
we're
play
big
by
White
him.
Sox guys.
But
don't mistake
the one
that.
thing I would say about this for Red Sox fans is super simple. When your GM and the whole front office staff has this type of change, this is part of every sport. They did, again, I hate to keep saying it, they didn't sign this contract. And whether we like it or not,
right.
when they brought Bregman in this offseason, they told everybody, whether Devers cared or not, that they weren't happy with his defense, and they weren't sure that they wanted to continue to pay him this much money to just hit. It's kind of what it is. So either way, Flax, where are we going next?
Next, we are going to our favorite manager in baseball, Mr. Davey Martinez, and we are going to talk about the statements that he made. And I will, before letting you hop up on your soapbox, I will say that first of all, when I
play that clip,
yeah, we have the ability to play that clip. I will pull it up on my computer first. That's not the clip. That's my pitching today. I don't want that clip.
I did send him some strikeouts.
Okay, let me see if I can expand this. Hold on. Technically challenged tonight is a nice way to say what I feel like I'm working with. Share. Screen.
You have to add the audio too.
Oh, I am going to have to add the audio, which means I need a tab, don't I? You guys talk and I'll figure it out.
If it's too much, Jackson, let's go into something else real quick.
Let's go to Cardinals Brewers first. I will have this queued up.
Caleb Duran, he and Wilson Contreras had Durbin. Sorry, Duran. See, I'm thinking about the Red Sox still. Caleb Durbin and Wilson Contreras, they had a little bit of a bump and run, as one might say, where Contreras kind of lazily stepped back into the baseline. It didn't really look like it was on purpose, but Durbin had to try to avoid him, ran into him. Contreras didn't like what Durbin had to say back, and Contreras was spitting back at him. And then eventually, baseball decided to police itself, and Jose Quintana put one right into Wilson Contreras' shoulder in order to say, hey, man, we don't really like what you did. And now we've got this interdivision beef that's probably always been there. As a Cardinals fan, you could probably elaborate on that. But they're the Brewers and the Cardinals don't like each other right now, and I do find it funny that there's brothers on these teams, and one of them is involved. Where are you at with these two beefing?
For me, this fires me up. The Cardinals have been. I'm a Cardinals fan. They've been boring the past 5 years, and I love them. But there's been a certain they're acting like they don't want to be there. I miss the days of Yachty getting up in Brandon Phillips' face and ready to fight him every time he
Oh
comes
yeah.
up to the plate. There's a certain like I grew up with this. My family's long generation Cardinals fans. Bob Gibson throwing at people's heads. Yachty's ready to fight people for his team. Like that's the Cardinals that I grew up on. The past 5 years haven't seen it. Like there's just hasn't been the toughness there, and to just see Contreras just coming out like all right, like whether it's his fault or not, he's coming out, he's fighting for his team. I would love to see it. This is the type of stuff. If they can rally, if they just find a common enemy and let's bang some baseballs around the yard for a couple weeks.
Yeah,
That's how I
then
feel about it.
to boot, he homers later in that game, and he
Yeah.
had some words for the Milwaukee dugout, which you love. I think one of my favorite pieces about this, though, and a lot of us on this podcast and a lot of us listening grew up in this era of baseball of like, this was the game policing itself in a non-harmful way. Okay, Quintana walked up there. He put a lower end fastball for him when you look at the velo of what he threw into Contreras' shoulder area, right into the meat of his shoulder. Perfect place if you're gonna hit a guy to not hurt anybody. And he said, "Hey, we didn't like that." Wilson kind of went and picked up the ball, and if I remember correctly, he's played with Quintana on at least one team, so they know each other. This
I
is
think
not
that
like
I think they played. I believe they played together on the Cubs, and I don't think they overlapped on the Cardinals, but they might have.
right. So whatever. I don't love that Contreras was like, I'm gonna run out there and talk to him, but at the same time, we used to have a game that like, this is just what you did. Guess what? No benches are clearing, nothing crazy's happening. They sent a message, and the message was sent, and Contreras then a couple innings later said, "Here's my message back to you. We're banging the balls around the yard, and let's move on with our lives." I love when the game does this, right? This to me is just how it works. The umpires didn't have to get heavily involved. Everybody said what they had to say. They did what they had to do. And now we move on, and we have this weird thing called a rivalry that we actually want to watch moving down the stretch. Because guess what? Next time those teams face, especially if both continue to play well, it becomes appointment television. I don't know about you guys, but I miss appointment television type baseball.
Yeah. And it
When the
happens.
Red Sox and Yankees were chippy when we were growing up, that was the best.
It
There was
feels like
nothing
it's
better than knowing
manufactured
they actually
now.
didn't like each other.
It feels like it's manufactured now, and
Cardinals-
it's poorly done. Like, and I love Sunday Night Baseball, and I still think that they do a very good job, and it is fun to watch when it happens. But like when it's Red Sox Yankees, and it's guys that really don't get into it with each other, and the conversation is way more about the young guys on the field. It's not uninteresting, but it's certainly not the rivalry that they're trying to make it. I mean, Yankees Mets kind of was fun to watch, but like for the most part, the whole thing's about Soto, and they just harp on the same small individual thing. And those games back in the day, man, it was 5 or 6 guys in every lineup, and it was past stuff with pit between pitcher hitter. Like there was always something to talk about amongst that, like back and forth. It just doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
Bring back
I know for
brawls.
me, I know for me with the Cardinals, like early 2010s Cardinals Reds, Cardinals Cubs was electric.
Yeah.
Brandon Phillips and Yachty were almost having a full on brawl every single time they faced each other. That made me hate Brandon Phillips more than life itself. I thought he was the worst human of all time when I was 7 years old.
That's my
Like,
guy.
that's just
I love that dude.
Now you know. Now you know. He's pretty cool, dude. Dat dude BP. But
great
like,
defensive second baseman. Love him.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
But yeah.
But like when you think about it and you really look back, like guys held pride for the place that they played, like the team and the organization they
Yes.
played for. And it was like Brandon Phillips took it as a slight to Cincinnati, to the Reds organization. Guys, I don't think, I'm not saying everybody, there's definitely guys that still show this, but I don't know that guys necessarily feel that pride for every organization. There are certainly organizations that harp on it and make it impactful, but the game has just become to a point, and it's slowly starting to shift back, but it has become to a point where you see guys, and you will see guys starting to retire that play for 5, 6, 7 teams because they just kind of jump in 1-year contracts once they get past rookie deals and arbitration, or they get traded and they become a restricted free agent. Like stuff happens where guys just have no problem moving place to place, and the pride that is held for each organization, I don't think exists the same way as it used to. And I understand it, right? Like, I get it. The game is driven by money now, but I do wish there was a little bit more of an impact that guys put in those situations. I do wish it turned into the Contreras brothers fighting, because then as an umpire, like, what do you do? Do you like, right? Like, if me and my brothers, if me and my brothers were in the big leagues together, I guarantee you there would be a brawl between us at some point in time, and I guarantee you, like, you couldn't break it up because I'd probably just be yelling nonsense at him, and then we'd be fine afterwards.
I think it can only be broken up by Contreras' parent.
Yeah, right.
Like,
Can you imagine they just run on the field?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I need their
your
mom. I need their mom coming on the field, like dragging them off the field and putting them in, like
just grabbing them each by an ear and
yeah.
Just looks at an umpire like, "Don't worry, I'm throwing him out."
Can you imagine
Don't worry
your
about
mom
it.
doing that?
Me, yeah,
Makes them go sit
absolutely.
in like the
Yeah, no question in my mind. I
Makes him go
absolutely
see the
could see my
cheap
mom doing
seats.
that.
make you go sit in the cheap seats for the rest of the series.
Yeah, yeah. Like, your punishment is that you're not allowed to come to the ballpark. That's what my mom would do. My punishment would be that I wouldn't be allowed to go play baseball. When I was younger and I would get in trouble, the punishment was that I wasn't going to get to go to practice. Which, like, kudos to my mom. She knew what I wanted. Like, that's all I wanted to do was go to practice. So, like, she knew what she was taking away. I didn't grow up with video games or anything. So, like, if I was doing something stupid, which happened a lot, her response was like, "You're not going to go to practice." So,
All right. Do we have Davey's video ready here? Potentially. If not, we'll just run through it.
do I have the video ready? I do have the video ready.
Let's
My
do it.
computer just moved to dark mode and freaked out, but I do have it ready to go. And now everybody's going to get to see the video in dark mode.
Perfect.
All right, moving on to the Davey Martinez conversation. We're moving over to sharing this video of him speaking, and I'm sharing it. Woohoo! See if I can make it. Oh, I can. Let's go. Let me know if you can hear it.
When you look at the offense as a whole, I think you guys haven't produced like you wanted to this month. For you, how much of that is on the players, on coaching?
It's never on coaching. Never on coaching. Okay, coaches work their asses off every single day. You know, we're not going to finger point here and say it's coaches. It's never on the coaches. Okay, they work hard. The message is clear. All the work is done prior. Sometimes they got to go out there and they got to play the game. It's always been about the players. Always. I played this game a long time. Never once have I blamed the coach for anything. I mean, we worked our asses off to get better. They gave us information and we used it. These guys understand what the game is, man. These coaches, I never had such a group of coaches that worked as hard as they do. I mean, they're here freaking diligently. They go over everything. They sit with players every day. These coaches, they work their asses off. So, and I know every coach's staff is like that. So, sometimes, then the players know. Sometimes, you got to put the onus on the players. They got to go out there and they got to play the game and play the game the right way. We can't hit for them. We can't catch the ball for them. We can't pitch for them. We can't throw strikes for them. They got to do that.
Let me start here. When I first saw the video, I genuinely thought it was AI and somebody was playing a cruel joke because they were just upset that the Nats lost again. And it could happen. I could see that. And then I double, triple checked my facts. And then I went back and watched the interview and I was just like, there's no way he actually said this. And then I started processing it and thinking about it as one does. There's two levels. A, Davey has been in this game a long time. I don't disagree with him that players take ownership of their own poor play and the players themselves want to be doing better and the coaches are doing what they can by feeling like they're putting the right players on the field. What I really think he was saying here is our pitching coach and our hitting coach are not the problem that you are making them out to be. I will stand behind my men because that is what I am here to do, is to kind of take in the nonsense and make sure that they stay covered. A great example of this is Mike Elias saying, We have no intentions of moving on from Brandon Hyde. We like what Brandon Hyde has done. We believe in what he can do, and a week later fired him. It's really hard if you're Davey, and it would have looked a lot worse to answer the question to say, basically, what's going on with the coaching, to sit there and say, yeah, the guys don't like our coaches. The hitters aren't really, getting much from them. And, we need to change up our game plan. You just can't. But there is no world in which this is a good answer. Like, in no way, shape, or form. And apparently it did send some shockwaves through the clubhouse, and there were players that were not very happy about this. Certainly fans that weren't happy about this. I will turn it over to you, Ryan, and let you hop on your soapbox to say all of your nice things about Davey Martinez. But I think where I stand is like, I get it. Still poorly said, and then doubled and tripled down in his answer because he knew he was saying the wrong thing. So that's where I'm at.
Regardless of how I feel about Davey Martinez, let's be clear. I don't think I have ever heard somebody word something so poorly in my entire life of watching
That was
interviews.
atrocious.
Except for Devers saying, I play third base. I don't play first base.
No,
It's
that was
around
bad.
the same line.
Because guess what? Devers is a Giant right now. Good for Devers. He got exactly what he wanted. Guess what? He's going to play third base for a hot second until Matt Chapman gets back.
True.
So honestly, Devers worded it better. This is the simple way that I look at this. I'm with it, right? I work in sales. That's my day job, right? When my numbers are down, I have some level of accountability to why my numbers are down from a sales perspective. So does my boss. So does the person above my boss, all the way up to our chief sales officer, okay? Davey literally just said, no, the earnest and accountability with the way he worded this is not on the coaches. He then came back and said, these coaches put all their time and effort into this and work very hard. That's appreciated. Now, here's my issue with that. Do the rest of us not go to work every day and give our best efforts still to the potential of getting fired? 100%.
Right, you can still get fired when you give your best effort.
The company that I work with right now could decide that regardless of my best efforts, if I'm not producing, they don't want me, right?
Best effort also doesn't mean success. Doesn't mean you're doing a good job.
And I'm not fighting, and I'm with that, and I agree with you. I look at this very, very simply as the way he stated this, though he was defending his people, which I can appreciate, made him act as if there was no accountability on the coaching staff. They're in the dugout every day with these guys. Again, the best part about baseball is it's a roster of men driving towards the exact same goal on a daily basis. Therefore, everybody, including the players, including the coaches, including the front office, holds and shares accountability for the production of what is on the field. And if the production is not good, regardless of how much you love the people around you, regardless of how hard those people work, you don't get to absolve the coaches of this accountability. And then to dive far enough to say, one, as a player, I never blame the coaches. Yeah, we know that. This is not new, right? We had an entire discussion with Jack Wilson about how players hated when coaches got fired because they felt like it was their fault, right? Mm-hmm. We're not saying the players want you gone, right? But there's shared accountability, right? And then to go even further than that and feel the need to defend every coach in the league who's on every staff in the league about the fact that they all see it similarly from an accountability perspective. Again, my thoughts on Davey Martinez aside, because that man has brought some wonderful things to DC, and I'm never, ever, ever going to take that away from him or what he's done for this organization. I am a person who the thought process of accountability is the most important thing. And if we're being real frank here, guess what? He's the head of the spear. And if you're going to go down that tangent, you say at the end of the day, the buck stops with me and my coaching staff. That is the answer that Davey needed to have here to word this correctly. We are not producing on the field. It is not my hitting coach. It is not my pitching coach. And it's my responsibility as the guy
I agree with that.
who calls the shots in this spot to figure out what we need to do to be better. That's defending your people in the right way and putting your people in the right spot. So I can't stand how he worded it. It's very frustrating. This is a very, very good young roster that has the ability to be extremely good over the next couple of years. And it's hard. It's really, really hard when I feel like the head honcho is not taking their own accountability and just throwing it back on the players, who, by the way, this is one of the youngest rosters in all of baseball. Go ahead, throw it on all these young kids who have a ton of upside. A lot of them are not going to take this well, not just because of him, but because they're going to literally start to blame themselves when people start to get fired. You can't do that to young people. That's never a recipe for success.
I was going to say it's
my
fascinating.
soapbox. I got nothing
It's
else.
fascinating to me because it just feels like another step in the wrong direction for an organization that has a ton of young talent and was playing really exciting baseball for a good stretch there. And like, this is the biggest hurdle for young teams to get over. And the Orioles are facing it right now, and plenty of other young teams have faced it. When you play really exciting baseball, the A's are facing it right now, big time. When you are playing good baseball and you're winning close games and things are exciting and things are fun, you look past all the negative stuff or all the stuff that's not going great. And then as soon as things start to slide, can you consolidate the issue and make a change that is going to get you going in the right direction again? Or are you going to let the young guys spiral? Or are you going to let the organization spiral and turn it into a bigger problem than it needs to be? And the A's have done, the A's have done a bad job letting it spiral, and the Nats right now are doing a bad job of letting it spiral. The Orioles did a bad job of opening the season and letting it spiral. It's hard to do. I'm not by any means sitting here saying that everyone's great at it, but this is an inflection point that happens with every young team in and beginning a window. It always
The answer
does.
also doesn't have to be to fire people, right? So, sorry, Jackson,
Right.
go ahead.
Yeah, for me, I agree. It was worded terribly. I don't agree with the response. However, I get where he's coming from. Like, as someone who like works with the baseball team, it's different for me, obviously. But I've understood the frustrations of me putting together a scouting report and saying stuff, and then it not getting followed, and me being right, and it not getting followed, and us losing. There's a certain frustration to that, and I understand where Davey's coming from, where if he's coming in the office, working his tail off, putting together what he thinks if he's doing a good job and him and his staff is doing a good job, and the player's still coming up short, I understand the frustration. Now, I don't think he did a good job of expressing it whatsoever, but I get where he's coming from.
And here's where I like what you said too, Jackson. For any of you who are listening that don't know, Jackson does data analytics on the pitching side specifically and does some other scouting reports as well, not related to pitching for ETSU. You're in a spot too where you're working with young men. You're working with young people, and that is the hardest thing to do to begin with because there's just more to it. The Nationals are not the well-versed veteran roster that Davey Martinez had when he got here and when he won. What young players need from a guide and a shepherd is very, very different. And these things scare me, right? Your ETSU roster had a great year this year. And you're right. There's probably, if I had to guess, multiple times where work and effort that you and the coaching staff put in didn't get followed. And yeah, there was a negative result. To me, you also know, and this group who coaches with you knows that you're working with 18 to 22-year-olds. Well, at the major league level, 18 to 22-year-olds is 20 to 26-year-olds. That's what the whole roster is.
Yep.
And I love player managers, and I love guys who really can get the most out of a veteran roster. But if it's not a veteran roster, we have to be able to make adjustments. And that has been the biggest criticism of Davey since the 2019 team dissolved. So it's a really difficult thing as a fan, and I want to take that out, but it's just what it is. And
no, it's hard because it's hard, but it's a good point to make from Davey as a manager standpoint, because look at the 2019 team. Look at what he didn't have to do for the younger guys on that team because you had a guy like a Ryan Zimmerman. right? You have guys in that locker room that take on that role where Davey can be Davey. He can be his old school self. He can chum it around with the older guys where he fits. He can kind of say his little things to the younger guys. Like, again, Robert Hassel, said in his first game, like, it was really helpful when Davey pulled him into his office and said, hey, you're meant to be here. You're not just here because we like you. You're going to do well here, and you're going to, you can play at this level. And he even said, like, that was really helpful and it calmed him down. Davey has the capability to do that. But how many young guys probably look back and say it was really nice to have a veteran like a Ryan Zimmerman right there when I was really getting going as a professional, because they didn't just teach me that I was good enough to be here, but they taught me how to handle myself at this level. They taught me how to be a big leaguer day in, day out. That's what you always hear those young guys say when these guys retire.
The organization for a long period of time.
Right.
I love Nathaniel Lowe. I love Josh.
It's the
Bell.
pride thing. It's the pride in your organization.
It's not exactly the same. These are very good people, for sure. They've been great for the organization, but the level of which they can shepherd is going to be different than a Max Scherzer, a Ryan Zimmerman, who has put so much blood, sweat, and tears into that specific roster. So either way, I don't need to go in any more of a soapbox on this. Jackson, I love the point that you brought up there, especially as somebody who is currently working in the industry, and I think you make a great point.
Yeah. I do want to I have one more topic because we need to talk about it. And this was the other tweet that I got roasted on today. To be fair, I don't even know what I was thinking when I tweeted it. It was absurd. The Chicago White Sox, Mike, the Chicago White Sox fan, tweeted something to the effect of like, why is Tim Elko so good at the AAA level after Tim Elko hit a bomb today after getting sent down, yesterday? And my comment was supposed to be fastballs at the minor league level.
Jackson, did you see this yet?
Did you see this tweet, Jackson?
I have not seen it, no.
Perfect.
Okay.
Make sure your mic's on.
So I saw the tweet and I said something to the effect of, let's see, I'm reading it now. A fastball at the big league level is a whole world different than the big leagues. I don't know what I was thinking when I tweeted it, but it got 6 comments, most of which were questioning what I was saying. One person came to my defense, thank you, you shouldn't have, saying, you get what he's saying, it's not that hard to use context. And a couple other people basically telling me that I'm wrong and that fastballs at both levels are the same. One guy said 93.1 at AAA and 93.1 in the MLB is the exact same thing. My response was, if it was, there'd be a whole lot more guys pitching in the big leagues because there's plenty of people that throw 93.1 that can't throw strikes, that can't hit corners, and don't have the same movement profile on said fastball. His response to me then was, yeah, I know the ball moves differently. And a couple people said, like, oh, it's the breaking ball, it's not the fastball. Like, guys, it's everything. Like, hitting at the AAA level is easier. It just is.
And at the big
It's
league
the biggest jump in sports.
The first thing that people are going to test you on is what, Jackson? What is the first thing they're going to test you on?
Fastballs.
They'll do the breaking
And then
balls.
if you hit those, they're going to test you on off speed.
ETSU, I know the first thing we do to start the year is we're 75% fastballs to begin the year, and then adjust from there. We're going to throw a bunch of fastballs down the middle. If you hit, we'll adjust. If you don't, we're not adjusting.
Bang!
That's the right mentality, and that's what I did today on the mound, and that's why we were successful, because we established the fastball early.
Yeah, do you have any eligibility left?
No, I don't.
You're gonna ask him over me, who has 4 years? Wow, I'm hurt. I gotta go.
Did you see the W next to my outing?
Everyone knows the most important pitching stat is the pitcher wins. I care about the wins and losses.
If you want to know our stats, there was a point at which my opponent batting average was like 0.50, and my ERA was like a 15.
That's
Because my
awesome.
first outing, I walked 9 guys. My first time ever on a mound facing a pitcher. You could say I've improved. You could say I've
You
improved a little
struck
bit.
out 8 over 7 and walked 2 today. I think you've improved.
Yeah. Through strikes.
Excellent outing. Did you want
No.
to end this on showing everybody a strikeout? Is that
No.
what
I
you
wanted
do?
to end this telling people that we are on the road to 2,000 followers on Twitter. If you haven't already, please go give us a follow. Give Jackson a follow. Give Ryan a follow. I don't really tweet for my personal account, but feel free to follow me. The other thing is we have an incredibly good interview coming to you guys on Tuesday. Keith Zuniga, the pitching coach from the University of Hawaii, was courteous enough to join Ryan and I for an hour, 15 minutes. He was phenomenal. You will listen to this episode and become just as big of a fan of Hawaii baseball as Ryan and I are. It is so apparent why that program is on the rise, why they've been so successful the last 4 years, and why it's continuing to increase. And we're riding the train. We are on the ship. We're on the surfboard. We're riding the back of Coach Rich Hill's surfboard at this rate.
Let's do it.
But I want you guys to check that out. We've got the episode from last week with Ryan and Jackson where they went through their all-star nods for this year. Phenomenal episode. Please go listen, enjoy, add us to your queue, and give us a follow. That's what I got.
I'll leave you on this. Chris Getz moves Andrew Vaughn, who like nobody wanted for Aaron Savali, and he then turns around, gets like almost immediately turns around and goes, "Yeah, we got him to trade him at the deadline." I love that. You took a guy in Vaughn who seemed to have no current value, and you grabbed a guy in Savali that can eat innings for somebody who is going to contend down the stretch in reality, and now it's a piece of which he can continue to build and continue to, well, really work on his roster construction in a way that he wants to and get potentially higher upside and younger prospects that he would not have therefore gotten trying to move struggling Andrew Vaughn. So attaboy Getz, that's a pretty good move. I like it.
And for everybody who thinks that
Love it.
Chris Getz is going to try and move Shane Smith because his value is high,
No.
he will not. He is now a part of the nucleus because he throws a filthy changeup, and his stuff is
I would
nasty.
sell my soul for that changeup.
As would I, Jackson. It might be
I
my
have
spirit
one, so
animal
I'm
here
okay.
soon. It might be my spirit animal here soon. No, Shane Smith, Grant Taylor. Just pay attention, people. I mean, Jackson will tell you how dirty the stuff is for both of those guys, and it's gross.
Oh, dude, I mean, Sean
Absolutely.
Burke. They've got Davis Martin. I think Davis Martin. Is that his name?
Yep.
They've got
Even
a
I-
plethora
Hagen
of arms.
Smith real soon.
Hagen Smith, Noah
Noah
Schultz, real
Schultz
soon.
just got moved up to AAA, baby.
I got a feeling they're not going to let these two left-handed starters get away. They let the last two get away. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on
Last-
me.
last
Fool me
three.
3 times.
That's 3. Jose Quintana.
I was going to say
Oh, you're
Quintana's
right.
in there, too. You can't forget
Damn
him
it.
because at the time he was a stud.
All right, well, fool me 4 times.
Shame on everybody. All right.
Shame on everybody. Oh boy. Thank you all for sticking around with us. Thank you for the support. We always appreciate it. And, keep coming to join us every single Sunday for the weekly wrap up. Give us your thoughts, give us your feelings, enter into the chat. We're always keeping an eye on it. Again, thank you for joining us.
Have a good day, people.
That's all we got.